My golden child sister always thought she was better than me because of her looks, so when she got older and they faded, she was so jealous of the life I built she tried to ruin it by slandering me at work. So I turned the tables and made her publicly beg for forgiveness. My golden child sister always thought she was better than me because of her looks, so when she got older and they faded, she was so jealous of the life I built, she tried to ruin it by slandering me at work. So I turned the tables and made her publicly beg for forgiveness. Growing up, my sister Samantha was the pretty one out of us two, and I was always happy that this was the case because good looks is the only thing she had going for her. She was ugly on the inside. She always said she was better than me, flaunting how much prettier she is and how much more boys are interested in her. Our mom even told her she'd marry rich and be the more successful sister, making Samantha an egomaniac. It was clear I was second to Samantha in my parents' eyes and call me crazy, but I loved it, because even back then, at just 15 years old, I knew that the way they treated me because I wasn't aesthetically blessed would only push me to work harder and hopefully make them proud. And I was right. I got an academic scholarship and moved out at 18. This was when the rift between me and Samantha formed. She claimed I thought I was too good for our family with my fancy scholarship and actually persuaded my parents into thinking the same. It hurt a lot going low contact with them, especially with how I always wanted to prove myself to them, but they forced my hand. Fast forward 10 years, I was finally successful, dating a great guy, working at a high-end marketing firm, and that was when I made the biggest mistake of my life. I thought my family would approve of me. I made plans to see them again, and over text, they sounded excited. I was excited too. I pulled into my parents' driveway in a car that I bought with my own money with James next to me. I looked confident on the outside, but inside I was nervous. I had not been home in a long time. I walked in and it felt like almost nothing had changed, but somehow everything had. Samantha was still there, 31 now, lying on the couch with a magazine in her hand like she didn't care I had just walked in. She looked tired, still beautiful, but her looks were fading. Her hair was dry and overprocessed, and her makeup was heavy. My parents greeted James and me, and their smiles were tight. At lunch, it got weird. Samantha barely said a word at first, and when she finally did, it was to talk about a high school modeling competition she won over a decade ago. My parents cheered her on like they used to. By evening, the energy in the house was awful. Samantha kept throwing digs at me, flat out telling me, "I'm still prettier than you, and that's all that matters." She brought up how I once tripped during a school recital and the whole room laughed at me. My parents chuckled along awkwardly. James kept giving me reassuring touches under the table. My patience was spinning. Later that night, I found Samantha alone in the kitchen. She was standing by the window, staring at her reflection, almost tearing up. I took a deep breath and did something I had been thinking about since I decided to come home. I offered her a job. I told her that my firm had a new marketing division opening, and I had pulled some strings to create a spot that I thought she would be perfect for. It came with a place to live, classes to help her sharpen her skills, and real chances to build a career. I said it gently. I made sure she knew it was coming from a place of wanting her to have something better. At first, she just blinked at me. I thought maybe she was shocked. Maybe she would cry. Maybe she would hug me. But then her face changed. She looked furious. "You think you're better than me?" she yelled. I was taken aback. That's when she started. She said I was still the awkward, forgettable, ugly sister underneath it all. She said James would leave me the second someone prettier came along. Her voice shook from rage. Deep down, I wanted to. But for the first time in my life, I did not back down. I told her calmly that she had every opportunity handed to her on a silver platter, and she had wasted it. I said she spent her life relying on her looks. I said that if she was lonely and struggling now, it was not because the world was unfair. It was because she had never bothered to invest in anything that would last longer than her beauty. I could feel the air go dead around us. I could see her chest heaving, her hands clenched into fists. When I finished, I noticed my parents standing in the doorway. They had heard everything. My mom's face was white. My dad looked like someone had punched him in the gut. James was standing behind them, and when our eyes met, I saw nothing but pride in his face. Samantha stormed off, slamming her bedroom door so hard the whole house shook. I heard stuff crashing against the walls. I half expected my mom to go after her the way she always used to, but she just stood there frozen, torn in a way I had never seen before. My dad stared at me like he was seeing me clearly for the first time and maybe hating himself a little for how long it had taken. James and I packed our bags and left shortly after, but it's on the drive home that my phone started blowing up. It was my job. I called my boss back immediately. "What the hell is going on?" she demanded without preamble. "What do you mean?" I sat up, instantly alert. "Have you seen the review? The one calling you out by name?" My stomach dropped. "What review?" She explained that someone had left a scathing 1-star review on our company website, specifically naming me and claiming I had made cruel jokes about their autistic son during a client meeting. The review was getting traction on social media with people already calling for me to be fired. "I never did that," I said, my voice shaking. "That's completely fabricated." "I figured as much," my boss said, sounding slightly relieved. "It didn't sound like you, but we need to address this ASAP. PR is already drafting a response." After hanging up, I immediately checked the review myself. It was vicious, detailed, and completely false. The client claimed to have met with me just 3 days ago when I had actually been in meetings with an entirely different client surrounded by colleagues who could verify my behavior. And then I saw the username of the reviewer, Pretty in Pink 31. Samantha was 31 years old, and Pretty in Pink had been her favorite movie since high school. "That bee," I whispered, showing James the screen. "She's trying to get me fired." James read the review, his expression darkening. "Can you prove it's her?" "Not definitively, but the timing is too convenient. And that username," I trailed off, my mind racing. "I need to call work back." I spent the next hour on conference calls with my boss, HR, and our legal team. They believed me about not making those comments, especially since I could prove I wasn't even in the meeting described, but the damage control was still necessary. The review had already been screenshot and shared across Twitter and Facebook. We were checking out of the hotel when my phone rang again. It was my mother. "Have you seen what your sister did?" she asked without greeting. "So they knew." "You mean the fake review trying to destroy my career?" "Yeah, I've seen it. She's gone too far this time," my mom said, surprising me. "Your father and we had a long talk last night, and again this morning when we saw what she posted." I waited, not sure where this was going. "We've enabled her," my mom continued, her voice small. "All these years, we thought we were helping her, but we weren't. And we weren't fair to you." It was the closest thing to an apology I was likely to get. I should have felt vindicated, but mostly I just felt tired. "What are you going to do about the review?" I asked. "Your father is making her take it down right now, and she's going to post a retraction admitting she made it up." "That was something at least, thanks," I said stiffly. "Will you be okay?" "Your job? I'll handle it," I said. "I always do." After hanging up, I checked the review site again. The post was already gone, but screenshots lived forever online. The damage was done. James and I drove back to Chicago in relative silence. I was mentally drafting emails, planning damage control, wondering if I should get a lawyer involved. My career was everything to me. It was what I'd built when I had nothing else. The thought of Samantha trying to take that away made me physically ill. We were about an hour outside the city when my phone pinged with a notification. Samantha had tagged me in a social media post. With trepidation, I opened it. It was a public apology. She admitted to writing a false review out of jealousy and anger, stated clearly that I had never made any inappropriate comments, and took full responsibility for her actions. The post ended with, "I am deeply sorry for the pain and professional damage I tried to cause. My sister deserves better from me." I stared at the screen, not quite believing what I was seeing. "She actually apologized," I said to James, showing him the post. He glanced at it, then back at the road. "Do you think she means it?" "Not a chance," I said immediately. "My parents probably forced her to do it, but at least it was something I could show my boss and colleagues. It wouldn't undo all the damage, but it would help." When we got home, I forwarded the apology to my work team and tried to put the whole disastrous weekend behind me. I threw myself back into my projects, staying late at the office and bringing work home. James gave me space, but kept reminding me to eat and sleep. 3 days after we returned, I got a text from my dad. "Samantha moved out, got an apartment in town, thought you should know." I wasn't sure how to respond, so I just sent back a simple, "Thanks for letting me know." Life went back to normal or something close to it. The fake review incident blew over at work faster than I expected. My colleagues were supportive, and my boss even joked that we should hire Samantha to write negative reviews of our competitors. I didn't find it funny. About 2 weeks after our visit, I was working late when my office phone rang. It was the front desk security. "There's a Samantha here to see you," the guard said. "Says she's your sister." My heart skipped a beat. "I'll be right down." I found Samantha sitting in the lobby looking uncomfortable and out of place. She'd made an effort with her appearance. Hair freshly colored, makeup flawless, but she seemed smaller somehow, less confident than I'd ever seen her. "What are you doing here?" I asked, not bothering with pleasantries. She stood up, clutching her purse like a shield. "I needed to see you in person to apologize properly." I crossed my arms. "You drove 4 hours to say sorry and to ask if she took a deep breath. If that job offer is still available." I stared at her, certain I'd misheard. "You're joking." "I'm not." She looked down at her designer boots. "Mom and Dad cut me off. Said it was time I stood on my own 2 feet. Dad called it tough love or whatever. So that explained the sudden move out of their house. And now you want my help? After you tried to destroy my career? I know it's a lot to ask, she said quietly. I wouldn't blame you if you told me to go to hell. Part of me wanted to do exactly that, to tell her she'd made her bed and could lie in it. But another part, the part that had driven me to succeed, to prove myself, saw an opportunity. The position's been filled, I said, which was true. But there's an administrative assistant role open in the same department. Entry level. You'd have to work your way up. Prove yourself. Her face fell slightly at entry level, but she nodded. I can do that. And you'd have to relocate to Chicago. Find your own apartment. Though the company does offer relocation assistance. I know. I've been looking at places online already. She hesitated. I don't expect us to be best friends or anything. I know I've been terrible to you for years. I just need a chance. I studied her face looking for signs of manipulation or insincerity, but all I saw was desperation and maybe, just maybe, a hint of genuine remorse. I'll talk to HR on Monday, I finally said. But I'm not pulling any special strings. You'll interview like anyone else, and if you get the job, you'll be treated like any other employee. Relief washed over her face. Thank you. Seriously, don't thank me yet. You haven't seen how hard the work is. I checked my watch. I need to get back upstairs. Where are you staying tonight? I got a hotel room, she said. I wasn't sure how this would go. I nodded. Text me the details for your application, and I'll pass them along on Monday. As she turned to leave, she paused. I am sorry, about the review, about everything. I know, I said, not quite ready to say I forgave her. That would take time, if it ever came at all. After she left, I went back to my office and sat at my desk trying to process what had just happened. Was I making a huge mistake? Probably. But maybe, just maybe, this was a chance for both of us to rewrite our story. I called James to tell him about Samantha's surprise visit. He was concerned, understandably. Are you sure about this? He asked. After everything she's done? Not even a little bit, I admitted. But I'm going to give her the chance to prove me wrong. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Samantha interviewed for the position and actually impressed the hiring manager with her social media knowledge. She found a small studio apartment in a decent neighborhood and moved to Chicago with 2 suitcases and a box of beauty products. We kept our distance at work, both of us aware of how inappropriate it would be to bring our family drama into the office. I made sure she wasn't assigned to any of my projects to avoid any appearance of favoritism or conflict, but we did meet for coffee occasionally. Awkward affairs where we struggled to find common ground after decades of animosity. She seemed genuinely committed to the job, staying late to learn new skills and volunteering for extra projects. One evening, about a month after she started, she texted me asking if we could meet for dinner. I suggested a casual place near my apartment, and she agreed. When I arrived, she was already there, nursing a glass of wine and looking nervous. I slid into the booth across from her. Everything okay? I asked, ordering my own drink from the passing server. Mom called, she said. They want to visit, both of us, here in Chicago. I tensed. When? Next month. Dad has a business thing nearby, and they thought they'd make a weekend of it. She twisted her napkin in her hands. I told them I'd ask you first. The old Samantha would have just told them yes without consulting me. This small consideration felt significant. I'll think about it, I said honestly. She nodded, accepting this without argument. Another change. How's the job going? I asked, changing the subject. It's harder than I expected, she admitted, but I like it. The people are nice, except for Richard in accounting. He's kind of a dick. I laughed despite myself. Everyone thinks that about Richard. Does he always stare at women like they're meat? Unfortunately, yes. HR has a file on him a mile thick, but his uncle is on the board, so I shrugged. Typical, she muttered, then looked up at me. How do you do it? Work so hard all the time? I'm exhausted after 8 hours, but you're always there before me and still there when I leave. It was the first time she'd ever asked me something like that. Something that acknowledged my work ethic as real and substantial. I don't know, I said honestly. It's just what I've always done. Work was. It was the one place where effort actually translated to results, where being pretty didn't matter as much as being smart and determined. She was quiet for a moment. I used to be so jealous of you. She finally said. I nearly choked on my drink. Of me? You're joking. You always knew who you were, what you wanted. You worked for things and actually got them. She traced the rim of her wineglass. Nothing I ever got felt earned. It was always just given to me because of how I looked, and I knew it wouldn't last. I didn't know what to say to that. It was the most self-aware thing I'd ever heard her say. Anyway, she continued, clearly uncomfortable with the vulnerability she'd just shown. I just wanted to give you a heads up about Mom and Dad. No pressure. We finished dinner talking about safer topics, a new restaurant that had opened near her apartment, a TV show we'd both been watching. It wasn't exactly comfortable, but it wasn't openly hostile either. Progress of a sort. As we were leaving, she hesitated by the door. "Thanks," she said. "For the job. For giving me a chance." "Don't mess it up," I replied, but without real heat. She smiled slightly. "I'll try not to." I watched her walk toward the subway station, her figure growing smaller in the distance. Part of me still couldn't believe she was here, working at my company, trying to build a life independent of our parents. Part of me was still waiting for the other shoe to drop. But another part, a part I was trying to nurture, hoped that maybe, just maybe, we could both finally move forward. The next day at work, I was in the break room when I overheard two colleagues talking about Samantha. She's actually pretty good with the social media analytics. One was saying, "Picked it up way faster than I expected." "Yeah. But did you hear who her sister is?" Talk about nepotism. I froze, coffee mug halfway to my lips. "No way." "Who?" "Casey. From the executive team. They keep it quiet, but they're definitely related." "Crap assistant." That explains how she got the job with zero experience. I stepped around the corner making my presence known. Both women jumped looking guilty. "For the record," I said calmly, "Samantha interviewed for her position like everyone else. Her relationship to me was disclosed to HR from the start to avoid any conflict of interest, and I have no input on her performance reviews or career progression." They mumbled apologies, faces red, and quickly left the break room. I stood there feeling a strange mix of defensiveness and pride. Defensiveness because I hated the implication that I'd pulled strings unfairly. Pride because despite everything, Samantha was apparently doing well enough that people were noticing her work, not just her looks. That evening, I texted her, "Heard good things about your social media work today." 3 dots appeared immediately. Disappeared, then reappeared. Finally, "Really? From who?" "Just office talk." "Keep it up." Another pause then, "Thanks. That means a lot." It was such a small exchange, but it felt significant. For the first time in our lives, I was praising her for something she'd actually accomplished, not something she'd been born with, and she seemed to genuinely value the recognition. The next few weeks passed in a blur of work and cautious interactions with Samantha. We weren't exactly friends, but we were something less antagonistic than we'd been our entire lives. She invited me to see her new apartment, a tiny studio that she decorated with surprising taste on a tight budget. I helped her assemble an IKEA bookshelf that had defeated her for 3 days straight. As the date of our parents' visit approached, I found myself increasingly anxious. James noticed me checking my phone more often, my shoulders tensing whenever it buzzed. "You don't have to see them," he reminded me one night as we were getting ready for bed. "You can say you're too busy with work." "I know," I sighed, "but I think I need to. For closure." If nothing else, he kissed my forehead. "Whatever you decide, I'm with you." I finally texted Samantha that I'd meet with our parents, but only for dinner on Saturday night. One meal, neutral territory, with James as my buffer. She seemed relieved, immediately suggesting a restaurant that was nice, but not too fancy. The night before their arrival, I had trouble sleeping. I kept imagining worst-case scenarios. Samantha reverting to her old self, my parents dismissing my career achievements, public arguments that would embarrass everyone. But I was also holding on to a small hope. If Samantha could change even a little bit, maybe my parents could too. Maybe we could find some new equilibrium as adults. The day of the dinner arrived, and I spent way too long deciding what to wear. I wanted to look professional, but not like I was trying too hard. Successful, but not showy. In the end, I chose a simple black dress that I knew looked good on me, paired with the pearl earrings James had given me for our anniversary. "You look beautiful," James said as we got ready to leave, and intimidating in the best possible way. I laughed, some of my tension easing. That's exactly what I was going for. We arrived at the restaurant 15 minutes early at my insistence. I wanted to be settled when they arrived, not walking and flustered and feeling like I was on their turf. Samantha arrived next, alone, looking nervous but put together in a blue dress I recognized from her Instagram. She'd toned down her makeup since moving to Chicago, going for a more natural look that actually suited her better. "They just texted," she said after greeting us. "Their Uber is 5 minutes away." I nodded, taking a sip of water to ease my dry throat. James squeezed my knee under the table, a silent reminder that he was there on my side, and then they walked in. My parents, looking older and somehow smaller than I remembered from just a few months ago. My mom scanned the restaurant anxiously until she spotted us, then nudged my dad. They made their way to our table. My mom smiled tight with nerves. My dad's expression unreadable as always. "You both look lovely," my mom said after awkward hugs all around. She settled into her seat, eyes darting between Samantha and me like she was trying to assess the current state of our relationship. "How's the new job going, Samantha?" my dad asked as he studied the menu. And just like that, we were launched into the familiar pattern. My parents focusing on Samantha first, always. But then something unexpected happened. Samantha answered briefly, then immediately turned the conversation to me. Casey just landed a huge new client, she said. Tell them about it. All eyes turned to me, including my parents, their expressions surprised but attentive. And in that moment, as I began to describe my latest project, I realized something had fundamentally shifted, not just in Samantha, but in all of us. We weren't fixed, not by a long shot. There were decades of hurt and habit to overcome. But for the first time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we were all finally heading in the right direction. The dinner with my parents was actually going okay. I mean, it was still awkward as hell, but Samantha directing attention to my work was completely new territory. My dad asked follow-up questions about the client, seeming genuinely interested. My mom kept glancing between Samantha and me like she was watching a tennis match, clearly confused by our new dynamic. So you two are getting along now? She finally asked during a lull in conversation. I looked at Samantha, not sure how to answer. We weren't exactly friends, but we weren't actively trying to destroy each other anymore either. We're working on it, Samantha said before I could respond. Casey's been really helpful with the transition to Chicago. My mom nodded slowly. That's good. We were worried when you both stopped calling for a while after that weekend. James, bless him, jumped in to change the subject. How's the neighborhood back home? Any new developments? The rest of dinner went surprisingly smoothly. My dad talked about his golf game. My mom showed pictures of her garden, and we all carefully avoided mentioning the fake review incident or our blowout fight. It wasn't perfect, but it was civil. Progress, I guess. When the check came, my dad insisted on paying. My girls are both working in the big city now. Let me treat you. The old me would have argued, wanting to prove I could pay my own way. But I saw something in his eyes, a genuine desire to do this small thing. So I just thanked him instead. Outside the restaurant, my mom hugged me tightly. We're proud of you, she whispered. I know we don't say it enough. I stiffened, not expecting this. Thanks, Mom. Both of you, she added, pulling back to include Samantha in her gaze. You're both doing so well. My dad nodded awkwardly beside her. What she said, it wasn't exactly a hallmark moment, but it felt honest. We said our goodbyes with promises to talk more often, and James and I headed home while Samantha took our parents to see her new apartment. That wasn't a complete disaster, James said as we walked to our car. I laughed. High praise indeed. No, seriously. They seem different. Less focused on Samantha. More interested in you. Yeah, I agreed. It's weird. Good weird? I thought about it. I'm not sure yet. The next morning, Samantha texted me. They stayed for, 20 minutes then went back to their hotel. Dad said my place was cozy, which I think is code for tiny. I snorted, typing back. At least they showed up. Baby steps. Thanks for coming last night. It meant a lot to them. I stared at that message for a while. Not it meant a lot to me, but to them. Samantha was still keeping her emotional cards close to her chest. Fair enough. So was I. Life went back to normal after my parents left. Work kept me busy, and James and I started looking at houses in the suburbs thinking about the next step. Samantha seemed to be settling into her job, and we maintained our cautious, occasional meetups for coffee or quick lunches. Then one Tuesday morning, about 2 months after our parents' visit, all hell broke loose at work. I was in an early meeting when my phone started blowing up with notifications. I ignored it until we took a break, then checked to find multiple missed calls from Samantha and several urgent texts. Call me ASAP. It's about Richard. I think I'm about to get fired. I stepped out of the meeting room and called her immediately. What happened? I asked as soon as she picked up. Richard cornered me in the copy room, she said, her voice shaking. He tried to. He put his hands on me. I pushed him off, and he's telling everyone I came on to him and then freaked out when he rejected me. My blood ran cold. Where are you now? Bathroom on the 3rd floor. HR wants to see both of us at 11. Stay there. I'm coming down. I found her sitting on the floor of the handicap stall, mascara smudged under her eyes. When she saw me, she stood up quickly trying to compose herself. I didn't do anything wrong, she said immediately. I swear. I believe you, I told her. And I realized I actually did. The old Samantha might have lied or manipulated a situation, but this Samantha, the one who'd been working her ass off for months, I trusted her. He's been making comments for weeks, she continued. Wiping under her eyes, I tried to ignore it. I didn't want to be the new girl causing problems. Did anyone see what happened? She shook her head. Just his word against mine, and he's been here for years. I helped her clean up her makeup and walked with her to the HR meeting. Mary from HR looked surprised to see me. Casey, this is a private meeting, she said. I'm here as a colleague, not as Samantha's sister, I said firmly. And I have some relevant information about Richard's history of inappropriate behavior. Mary hesitated, then nodded. Fine. But keep it professional. Richard arrived a few minutes later looking smug until he saw me sitting there. His expression faltered slightly. What's she doing here? He demanded. Providing context, Mary said. Now I understand there was an incident this morning. Richard launched into his version of events claiming Samantha had been flirting with him for weeks and had cornered him in the copy room, becoming aggressive when he turned her down. It was such obvious bullcrap I had to dig my nails into my palms to keep from interrupting. When it was Samantha's turn, she told her story calmly and clearly. No dramatics, no accusations, just facts. I was impressed by her composure. And, Casey, you said you have additional information? Mary prompted when Samantha finished. I nodded. Richard has a history of making female employees uncomfortable. I've personally witnessed him making inappropriate comments to at least 3 women in the past year. I've also heard from multiple colleagues about similar experiences. Richard's face turned red. That's a lie. She's just backing up her sister. Actually, I continued pulling out my phone. I have emails from Jessica in design, Alex in marketing, and Jamie in accounts, all describing similar behavior from Richard. I forwarded them to you, Mary. Mary checked her email, her expression growing more serious as she read. I see. Richard, I think we need to continue this conversation privately. Samantha, you're free to go for now. We'll be in touch. Outside the HR office, Samantha let out a shaky breath. How did you have those emails ready? I didn't. I admitted. I've just been collecting complaints about Richard for months, hoping to build enough of a case that HR would finally do something. Your situation just forced the issue. She stared at me. You put your reputation on the line for me. I shrugged, uncomfortable with her intensity. It was the right thing to do. Thank you, she said simply. I nodded, not sure what else to say. Take the rest of the day off if you need to. I'll cover for you. No, she said firmly. I'm not hiding. I didn't do anything wrong. I respected that. Okay, but text me if you need anything. 2 later, Richard was escorted out of the building by security, carrying a box of his belongings. The office grapevine went wild with speculation, but HR kept the official details quiet. Samantha held her head high, ignoring the whispers and getting on with her work. That weekend, she invited me over to her apartment for dinner. It was the first time she'd cooked for me ever, I think. The pasta was slightly overcooked and the sauce was from a jar, but the effort meant something. I've been thinking a lot about what happened, she said as we ate. About why I didn't report Richard sooner. I waited, letting her gather her thoughts. My whole life, I've used my looks to get what I want, she continued. It usually worked, but it also meant I never developed other skills, like standing up for myself in a professional way or knowing my own worth beyond my appearance. I nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. When Richard started with the comments, part of me thought that's just how things work. Men notice me. I use it to my advantage. But for the first time, I didn't want that to be the dynamic. I wanted to be taken seriously for my work. You're being taken seriously. I told her, your performance reviews have been excellent. She looked surprised. You checked? I asked David in HR. Not for details, just a general sense. He said you're exceeding expectations. A small genuine smile spread across her face. Really? Really? And it has nothing to do with being my sister or being pretty. It's because you're good at the job. She was quiet for a moment. I never thought I could be good at anything real. Well, now you know. After dinner, we ended up on her tiny balcony with glasses of wine looking out at the city lights. It wasn't exactly comfortable between us. Too many years of hurt for that, but it was peaceful in a way I'd never experienced with her before. Mom called yesterday, Samantha said suddenly. They're thinking about selling the house. What? Why? She shrugged. It's too big for just them. Dad's thinking about retiring next year. They might move to Florida or something equally cliché. I tried to imagine our childhood home belonging to someone else. It was a strange thought. How do you feel about that? Weird, she admitted, but also, kind of relieved. Like, maybe we can all finally move on from who we were there. I understood exactly what she meant. The next few months flew by. Work was hectic, and James and I finally found a house we loved in a suburb with good schools. We weren't planning on kids immediately, but we were thinking about the future. Samantha got promoted to social media coordinator, a position she genuinely earned. She started dating a guy from the IT department, a nice normal guy who seemed to like her for more than just her looks. Our parents did end up selling the house, though they moved to Arizona rather than Florida. My mom started sending both of us the same updates and photos, treating us equally for perhaps the first time ever. One Friday evening, about a year after Samantha had moved to Chicago, she texted me asking if we could meet for a drink. I was tired after a long week, but something in her message seemed urgent, so I agreed. I found her at a bar near my office already nursing a cocktail. She looked nervous. Everything okay? I asked, sliding onto the stool beside her. I got a job offer, she said without preamble. In New York, a cosmetics company wants me to run their social media team. Wow, I said, genuinely impressed. That's amazing, Sam. She didn't even correct me on the nickname. It's a big step up. More money, more responsibility. You should take it, I said immediately. It's a great opportunity. She studied my face. You're not upset about me leaving? I was surprised by the question. Why would I be upset? I don't know. We just started to, she gestured vaguely between us. Whatever this is. Become actual sisters? I suggested. She nodded, looking uncharacteristically vulnerable. Sam, you taking this job doesn't change that. New York isn't that far. We have phones, video calls, planes. So you think I should go? Absolutely. You've earned this. She smiled, relief evident on her face. I already accepted. I start next month. I laughed. Then why ask my opinion? Because it matters to me, she said simply. We ordered another round and spent the evening talking about New York, her new job, my new house. For the first time, it felt like a conversation between friends, not just sisters bound by obligation and shared history. When we finally left the bar, she hugged me tightly. Thank you, she said. For what? For not giving up on me. Even when I was awful. Even when I tried to ruin your career. I hugged her back. That's what sisters do, I guess. The day Samantha left for New York, I helped her pack the last of her things into a moving van. Her apartment looked bare and sad with all her stuff gone. You sure you have everything? I asked, checking the empty closets one last time. I think so. She said, looking around. If I forgot anything, I'll just buy a new one. Some things never change. I smiled. Outside, her boyfriend was waiting to drive her to the airport. They were going to try long distance for a while. See how it went? So I said awkwardly, this is it. For now, she corrected. I'll be back for Christmas. And you promised to visit in the spring? Right. Of course. We stood there for a moment, neither sure what to do. Then she pulled me into a hug. I love you, she said quietly. I don't think I've ever actually said that before. I swallowed hard. I love you too. And I meant it. Not because she was perfect now, she wasn't. She still had her moments of selfishness and vanity, but she was trying. We both were. As I watched her car drive away, I thought about how far we'd come from that disastrous family visit over a year ago. How we'd both grown in ways I never expected. My phone buzzed with a text from James. On my way home. How'd it go? I typed back good. Sad but good. Bring pizza? Already ordered. Love you. I smiled. Pocketing my phone and heading to my own car. That night, James and I ate pizza on the floor of our new house. We still hadn't bought a dining table. And I told him about saying goodbye to Samantha. You know, he said thoughtfully, when I first met your family, I thought you guys were beyond repair. So did I admitted. I'm glad I was wrong. I leaned against his shoulder, thinking about how life never turns out quite how you expect. How people can surprise you for better or worse. How sometimes the hardest relationships are the ones most worth fighting for. Me too, I said simply. 6 months later, Samantha flew back to Chicago for my wedding. She wasn't my maid of honor. That spot went to my college roommate who'd been there for me during those years of family estrangement, but she was a bridesmaid standing beside me as I married James. My parents sat in the front row. My mom crying happy tears. My dad looking uncomfortable in his suit but proud. They'd flown in from Arizona a week early to help with last-minute preparations. And for once, they'd been more helpful than stressful. At the reception, Samantha gave a toast that made me tear up. No backhanded compliments. No making it about herself. Just genuine words about how much she admired me and how happy she was for James and me. Later, as James and I swayed on the dance floor, I caught sight of Samantha chatting with one of his cousins, laughing at something he said. She looked happy, confident in a way that came from something deeper than just her appearance. Penny for your thoughts? James murmured in my ear. I smiled up at him, just thinking about how sometimes things work out okay in the end. Not perfect. Not fairy tale happy ever after. Just okay. And honestly, after everything, okay felt pretty damn good.